Wanda Whimsybottom and the Missing Unicorn in the bustling city of Boston, where ordinary folks hurried through the streets, an extraordinary community thrived right under their unsuspecting noses. This magical world was none other than the whimsical wizarding community, brimming with peculiar characters and spellbinding mischief. Tucked away in the heart of this enchanting universe was a bustling street called Frogglestone Alley. This vibrant thoroughfare was lined with a variety of magical shops and establishments, each one radiating an aura of excitement and mystery. And nestled amidst the hustle and bustle was Hocus Pocus Potions, an eccentric emporium run by the one and only bumbling wizard, Professor Whiskerwitz. Professor Whiskerwitz, with his unruly beard that seemed to have a life of its own and spectacles that perpetually played hide-and-seek with his nose, was a legend in his own right. His potions were notorious for their unintended side effects, often causing delightful chaos. His latest concoction, the Fizzy Fiasco Fizz, possessed a rather uncanny ability to transform its drinkers into floating rubber ducks. It was safe to say that the citizens of Boston were both bewildered and tickled pink by this peculiar turn of events. The wizarding folk of Boston couldn't resist gathering at Frogglestone Alley, their eyes twinkling with anticipation as they embarked on their magical shopping adventures. Every shop had its own quirky charm, like wonderful wands, where the wands themselves had a cheeky habit of tickling unsuspecting customers when they least expected it. Then there was Scribbles and Spells, a bookstore overflowing with spellbooks, ancient tomes, and the occasional mischievous pixie that enjoyed rearranging the pages just for laughs. The owner, a wise old witch named Madame Quillwort, could often be found perched on a towering stack of books, dispensing advice in rhyming couplets that left even the most astute wizards scratching their heads. But the heart and soul of Frogglestone Alley was undoubtedly Cauldron's Quirks, a quaint tea shop run by a delightful duo known as the Brewberry Brothers. Frederick and Franklin Brewberry, with their twirly mustaches and penchant for wearing mismatched socks, served up steaming cups of tea that could make you levitate ever so slightly off your chair. It was said that their Earl Grey had a mischievous streak, whisking itself away from the cup just when you were about to take a sip. As the sun set over Frogglestone Alley, casting a magical glow upon its cobblestone streets, the denizens of the wizarding world came alive. Laughter filled the air as witches and wizards chatted animatedly, their robes shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow. The aroma of freshly brewed potions and enchanting pastries wafted through the night, creating an intoxicating blend of scents that could only be found in this fantastical realm. And so, in the heart of Boston, a parallel universe thrived, hidden from the eyes of ordinary citizens. Frogglestone Alley was a portal to a world of whimsy and wonder, where the peculiar became the norm and laughter was the currency of the realm. As the moon peeked out from behind a cloud, casting its silvery glow on the bustling street, one thing was certain: life in the wacky wizarding world of Boston would forever be an enchanting adventure filled with laughter, surprises, and maybe just a pinch of fizz-induced duckiness. In the heart of Boston Common, a grand tournament known as the Broom Brawl was on the verge of taking flight. Witches and wizards from all corners of the city flocked to the venue, eager to showcase their aerial acrobatics and engage in a comical competition of magical broom riding. The event attracted a lively crowd, from wide-eyed children to wizened elders, all seeking a dose of fantastical entertainment. Among the competitors, there was a young witch by the name of Wanda Whimsybottom. Now, Wanda was known far and wide for her unique set of talents. She possessed a gift for clumsiness that bordered on artistry, and she had a peculiar habit of sneezing out a confetti-like substance every time she cast a spell. Needless to say, her magic was always a riot of colors and sparkles. Wanda's broomstick, a loyal companion that went by the name of Wobbles, was just as unpredictable as its owner. With a mind of its own, it would often veer off course, soar too high, or take sudden nosedives like a playful puppy chasing its own tail. It seemed as though Wobbles had a mischievous streak, constantly testing Wanda's agility and balance. As the tournament's commencement drew near, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. The spectators lined the edges of the clearing, their eyes glued to the sky, waiting for the magical mayhem to unfold. The event organizers, adorned in extravagant hats adorned with feathers and glitter, signaled the start with a booming declaration that echoed through the common. The moment Wanda's feet left the ground, the fun began. Wobbles, true to its nature, took an unexpected detour, swerving to the right instead of following the designated path. Before anyone could react, the rebellious broomstick barreled into a nearby cotton candy stand, sending swirls of pink and blue sweetness soaring through the air. The spectators erupted into fits of laughter as they found themselves adorned with fluffy cotton candy crowns and twirling candy floss mustaches. Robes were instantly transformed into a carnival of sugary pastels, turning the Broom Brawl into a whimsical fashion extravaganza. Even the event organizers couldn't help but chuckle, their serious expressions melting away in the face of such unexpected hilarity. Meanwhile, Wanda found herself entangled in a sticky web of cotton candy, her arms flailing like a windmill caught in a sugar storm. With each attempt to free herself, she only managed to wrap more of the sweet confection around her. As her broomstick Wobbles hovered nearby, seemingly unbothered by the chaos it had caused, Wanda could do nothing but giggle helplessly amidst the tangled mess. Unbeknownst to Wanda, her predicament became the highlight of the Broom Brawl. The other competitors, now doubled over with laughter, struggled to maintain their focus. Spells went awry, broomsticks collided, and more than one wizard found themselves floating upside down, their robes flapping in the breeze like a group of confused bats. The Broom Brawl had transformed into a mesmerizing spectacle of laughter and chaos, an enchanting comedy show that left everyone in stitches. The audience, no longer bound by conventional expectations, cheered and applauded each mischievous twist and turn. The event had taken an unexpected turn, proving that sometimes the most magical moments arise from the most unanticipated mishaps. Eventually, the organizers managed to restore order to the Broom Brawl, though they couldn't quite erase the smiles and lingering traces of cotton candy that adorned the participants amidst the mirth and mayhem. A serious problem befell the wizarding community. A rare and majestic unicorn had gone missing from the Boston Magical Menagerie. The news spread like wildfire, and everyone from wand makers to potion brewers joined the hunt to locate the elusive creature. Enter Professor Bogtrotter, a professor of magical zoology with a penchant for eccentricity. With his wild hair resembling a bird's nest and his mismatched socks, Professor Bogtrotter was a walking enigma. Armed with a notepad, a magnifying glass, and a bucket of glitter, because, well, who knows, he set out to investigate the unicorn's disappearance. While searching for clues, Professor Bogtrotter stumbled upon a group of mischievous goblins, notorious for their love of shiny objects. Could they be behind the unicorn's disappearance? As the professor attempted to interrogate them, they promptly turned him into a giant gummy bear, leaving only his spectacles peeking out. Now, being a giant gummy bear in the middle of Boston isn't exactly inconspicuous. People pointed, children giggled, and even a few brave souls attempted to take a bite out of him. It was a sticky situation, to say the least. Thankfully, Wanda Whimsybottom happened to be passing by. She recognized the professor's signature spectacles poking out of the sugary mess and rushed to his aid. Armed with a wand and a can-do attitude, Wanda cast a spell that transformed the gummy bear back into Professor Bogtrotter, who promptly spat out a handful of gummy bears with a sheepish grin. "Thank you, my dear," the professor exclaimed, wiping the gummy residue from his robes. "Those goblins sure know how to cast a sticky spell." With Professor Bogtrotter back in his human form, the duo continued their investigation, albeit a bit stickier than before. They retraced their steps to the Boston Magical Menagerie, hoping to find a clue that would lead them to the missing unicorn. Inside the menagerie, they were greeted by the flustered owner, Mr. Mac Fumblebottom. His spectacles were perched precariously on his nose, and his mustache twitched with worry. "Professor Bogtrotter." "Wanda." "Thank goodness you're here," Mr. Mac Fumblebottom exclaimed. "The unicorn. It just vanished into thin air." The professor furrowed his brow and examined the empty enclosure where the unicorn once stood. He squinted and then, like a light bulb flickering on, he gasped. "Mr. Mac Fumblebottom, do you recall any unusual sightings or peculiar happenings before the unicorn disappeared?" Professor Bogtrotter inquired. "Well, now that you mention it," Mr. Mac Fumblebottom pondered, "there was a young witch who came by yesterday, claiming she wanted to pet the unicorn. She had a mischievous glint in her eye and a bag full of glitter." Wanda's eyes widened, and she exchanged a knowing look with the professor. "Do you remember anything else about her? Any distinctive features?" Mr. Mac Fumblebottom scratched his chin. "Ah, yes. She had vibrant purple hair and wore a cloak adorned with stars and moons. Quite the eccentric fashion sense, I must say." The pieces of the puzzle were coming together. Professor Bogtrotter realized that their culprit might be none other than the notorious witch, Glitterbell Glimmerdust, a troublemaker known for her fondness of glitter and chaotic pranks. "We must find glitter." Their first stop was the Enchanted Forest Park, known for its magical creatures and hidden charms. As they entered the park, they were greeted by a mischievous talking squirrel named Nutmeg. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, Nutmeg hopped from tree to tree, teasing them with riddles and puzzles. "Hello, hello, travelers fair. Answer me this, if you dare. What is roots that nobody sees, and is taller than the tallest trees?" Nutmeg chirped, his tiny voice filled with mischief. Wanda scratched her head, pondering the riddle. Professor Bogtrotter, still in his gummy bear form, wiggled in anticipation. After a moment, Wanda exclaimed, "It's a mushroom. They have roots underground, and some can grow quite tall." Nutmeg clapped his paws in delight. "Well done, well done. You're clever indeed. I'll grant you a clue to help you succeed." With a flick of his furry tail, Nutmeg vanished into the trees, leaving behind a trail of acorns. Following the acorn trail, Wanda and Professor Bogtrotter made their way deeper into the park, where they stumbled upon a peculiar sight, a levitating lobster gracefully floating above a pond. The lobster, named Larry, had a flair for showmanship. He twirled and spun through the air, entertaining the enchanted onlookers. As Wanda and the professor approached, Larry landed with a soft plop and introduced himself with a bow. "Greetings, fair travelers. I am Larry, the levitating lobster extraordinaire. How may I be of assistance on this whimsical quest of yours?" he said, his voice as dignified as a lobster's could be. "We're in search of a missing unicorn. Have you seen anything unusual around here?" Wanda asked, her eyes scanning the area. Larry scratched his lobster chin with one of his pincers. "Ah, a unicorn, you say? Fascinating creatures, indeed. While I haven't spotted one recently, I did see a group of goblins scurrying about, carrying a sack that seemed rather suspicious. Perhaps they hold the key to your elusive unicorn." Thanking Larry for his insight, Wanda and the professor followed the goblin trail, led by the unmistakable sound of a vendor's melodious voice. As they turned the corner, they were greeted by the sight of a hot dog vendor standing beside his cart, wearing a colorful top hat and a coat adorned with shiny buttons. The vendor, aptly named Rhyming Richard, was known for his rhyming prowess and his ability to turn a simple transaction into a poetic masterpiece. "Step right up, my friends, and feast your eyes. Delicious hot dogs, the perfect size. With ketchup, mustard, or relish, you choose. But let me rhyme, for it's my own excuse," Rhyming Richard proclaimed, twirling his mustache with flair. Wanda couldn't help but giggle at the vendor's enthusiastic rhymes. She leaned forward and asked, "Good sir, have you seen any goblins pass by? We're on a quest to find a missing unicorn." Rhyming Richard's eyes twinkled as he adjusted his hat. "Goblins, you say? Oh, what a day. They scampered past me, heading that way. In their bag, something curious they carry. I'd wager it's your unicorn, but don't tarry." With a rhyming farewell and a hot dog in hand, Wanda and the professor followed the scent of adventure, their hearts brimming with excitement. Finally, they reached a hidden grove nestled between towering trees. There, they discovered the goblins, huddled in a circle, their beady eyes fixated on a large sack. Carefully, Wanda and the professor approached, their gazes never leaving the mysterious bag. Just as they were about to confront the goblins, the sack suddenly wriggled and twitched. It quivered, and a soft whinny filled the air. With a surge of hope, Wanda and the professor untied the sack, revealing the radiant and relieved face of the missing unicorn. The unicorn, grateful for its rescue, pranced and frolicked, its mane sparkling with ethereal hues. It nuzzled Wanda and Professor Bogtrotter, expressing its gratitude in its own magical way. As news of their triumphant return spread, the entire wizarding community rejoiced. A grand celebration was held in Frogglestone Alley, where Professor Whiskerwitz's fizzy fiasco fizz was served, this time with a guarantee not to turn anyone into floating rubber ducks. And so, Boston once again became a place where laughter and magic intertwined, where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexisted in perfect harmony. With hearts full of joy, Wanda, Professor Bogtrotter, and their newfound unicorn friend reveled in the whimsical tale they had woven together, forever etching their names in the annals of Boston's magical history.